Welcome to Cinema Bites, your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. Imagine that over the years, a married couple named Dave and Sarah have been discussing their relationship in front of everyone, whether with their neighbors, friends, while shopping at the supermarket, or even in the car. They always argue, scream in each other's faces, and even insult one another. When things get tough, Dave decides to end the relationship forever and leaves Sarah's house. Then he starts begging on the streets, playing music for people, but no one pays attention to him. Later, he has to live with his sister at her house. In the next scene, Felix, his nephew, wakes up to find him sleeping on the couch. He tells him he wants to go to the garden, but his uncle makes him play a zombie game instead. When his sister wakes up and finds him sleeping on the couch, she tells him Felix wanted to go to the garden, but his uncle made him play a zombie game. When his sister comes home from work and sees this, she scolds her brother for letting her son watch such scary scenes. But Dave doesn't care and asks her what they're having for dinner. He doesn't like the mini pizzas and tofu his sister made, so he gets upset and goes out to buy real pizza. Tess and Felix end up having dinner alone. Later, the mother puts her son to bed and tells him a story about a man searching for the love of his life. At that moment, Dave comes back with the pizza. When he hears that part of the story, he reflects on his life and remembers Sarah. The next day, he wakes up and tells his sister he needs to discuss something important. In the following scene, we see both of them heading to Sarah's apartment. Felix is dressed as Darth Vader, and Dave spends the car ride coaching Felix on what to say to apologize to Sarah, hoping she will forgive him and they can reconcile. When Dave opens the door with a spare key, he finds that Sarah has moved on and is with someone else. He gets into a fight with the man, but the man beats him up. When Dave realizes it's truly over, he leaves, shocked and terrified. He almost leaves Felix behind at Sarah's house. When they return home, Tess finds out what happened, argues with Dave, and kicks him out of the house. But when he cries in front of her, she changes her mind and tells him that if he wants to stay with her, he has to help around the house and with Felix's studies. The next day, Dave takes Felix to school. There, Felix introduces Dave to his friends, his crush Beth, and his teacher, Miss Audrey. The moment Dave sees Miss Audrey, he is captivated by her and tries to impress her. He tells her he is a professional musician and a responsible uncle. At the end of the day, he tries to talk to her again, but another teacher interrupts, saying she can't help with the kids' training. Dave decides to use this opportunity to get closer to Audrey. He offers to join her on the trip. Miss Audrey agrees. Later, Dave returns home and starts preparing for the trip with Felix. Tess tells her brother that her son has an allergy, so she puts 2 doses of medication in his bag and emphasizes that they should only be used in emergencies. Once everything is ready, the two board the bus for the trip. However, the bus breaks down midway, and to keep the kids entertained, they start singing. At that moment, Audrey asks Dave to play one of his songs to cheer them up. Dave feels it's a bad idea and tries to avoid it, but eventually gives in and performs. Instead of singing cheerful songs, he plays sad ones, scaring the kids. Fortunately, the bus driver announces that the bus has been fixed, and they can finally continue their journey. After a while, they arrive at the farm, only to find that next to the farm is an American military base conducting secret underground experiments. Here, we see an agent and her colleague walking through the tunnels to monitor the experiments for the Renewal Project. Along the way, they encounter a soldier who has turned into a zombie and is attacking a scientist. They shoot and kill him, then send a team to scan the area. The problem is that other zombies have escaped from the second section. The agent is forced to investigate, while her colleague stays behind to guard the area. While standing guard, the doctor, who had turned into a zombie, wakes up and attacks him. In the next scene, alarms are blaring outside the base, and several military vehicles arrive to control the situation. Meanwhile, Audrey and Dave arrive at the farm, and the kids meet Teddy McGiggle, a children's TV host and creator of a terrifying game. When Teddy sees the kids, he seizes the opportunity to expand his audience and invites them to the show, taking Audrey along to tour the place. While everyone is watching the show at the farm, we see the zombies escaping from the military base, having infected everyone inside. The zombies start looking for humans to eat. They keep moving until they reach the farm. There, a couple and the girl's father are playing croquet. While taking pictures, zombies jump over the fence and attack the old man. Elsewhere, Audrey calls the students to board the tractor, and Dave decides to join them. When Dave looks at the ring on Audrey's hand, he realizes she is engaged, which dampens his spirits. While riding the tractor with the kids, he notices someone teasing Felix for not having a father. Dave gets angry when he hears this and insults the rude kid. Audrey pulls Dave aside and tells him his behavior is inappropriate. At this moment, the tractor driver sees someone eating a goat. When he approaches, the zombie attacks and bites him on the neck. When Audrey sees this, she thinks the man is fighting with the driver and goes to intervene. But when she gets closer and sees the soldier's face, She realizes something is wrong. The soldier approaches her, and she tries to fend him off, hitting him with a shovel, but it doesn't stop him. Fearing the kids might see the horrifying scene, she asks Dave to take them away. Dave doesn't know how to operate the tractor, but fortunately Felix does and teaches him. After Audrey gets on the tractor with them, Dave starts moving immediately. To keep the kids from being scared of the zombies, they try to distract them by playing the guitar. Meanwhile, Dave drives the tractor slowly through the farm, witnessing the terrifying scene around him. With zombies everywhere eating people, he finds the road ahead blocked, making it impossible to continue with the tractor. Audrey tells the students to get off the tractor. As they walk past the zombies, she tells the kids they are playing a game of tag. To win the game, they must avoid being touched by anyone. The kids agree to play and walk in a line, one after the other. The group is looking for a safe place to stay away from the zombies. They manage to reach the bus, but the driver is already eaten. All the cars are filled with zombies. The only solution left for them is to hide in the flower shop in front of them. However, they find Teddy inside, who has locked all the doors and refuses to let anyone in. The group pleads with him to let the children in, but he refuses because he is afraid. Meanwhile, the zombies start getting closer to them, but Doria finds a small tunnel and tells the students to go through it. After they enter the tunnel, they find the entrance door is also closed. Dave tries to keep the zombies away from them by pushing them with a chair and climbs up to the tank, getting stuck above the entrance, which is also closed. Dave tries to keep the zombies away from them and pushes them with a chair, climbing up to the tank and getting stuck above the shop. He enters through the window above and falls on Teddy, who is annoyed that someone has entered the place without his permission. He fights with Dave, and when Dave defends himself, he hits him with a stick. Teddy fears his face will be disfigured, so he runs away and looks in the mirror to make sure nothing happened to his face. Dave takes advantage of this opportunity and hits him from behind with a guitar, knocking him out. After dealing with him, he opens the door for Doria and the children and then sets up barriers at all the entrances. Although the situation is very difficult, Doria tries to show the students that everything is fine so they won't be scared. After a while, Teddy wakes up, and upon finding them inside, he starts yelling at the children, warning them that they will be eaten by zombies. Doria, having had enough of his nonsense, takes him away, firmly telling him that she will not allow him to tie the children up. To prove she is serious, she strikes him with a vase and warns him to calm down, or she will kill him to protect her students. Realizing that she means what she says, Teddy agrees and resumes the show for the students. Meanwhile, Dave searches for water and food. After some time, he finds chips in the fridge and starts eating, unintentionally annoying the children. In his distraction, he completely forgets that Felix is allergic to milk and bitterness. Soon, Felix struggles to breathe, prompting Dave to remember the medicine that had been given to him. He has one dose in his pocket and another in a bag left behind in the tractor. However, while attempting to inject Felix, Dave accidentally injects himself in his nervousness, leaving only one injection remaining, the one in the bag. Felix pleads with his uncle to stay by his side, so Doria decides to retrieve the medicine herself. She enters through the window, climbs down from the roof, and leaps onto a tank before dashing left and right to avoid the slow-moving zombies. Despite their sluggishness, the undead still pose a threat, but Doria skillfully evades them. She finally reaches the tractor, only to find 3 zombies blocking her path. Desperately scanning her surroundings for a weapon, she finds nothing but cliffs. She fights off any zombie that dares to approach and, at last, retrieves the bag containing Felix's medicine. Now, she must return the same way she came, through an area swarming with zombies. But she remains fearless, running through them without hesitation. Meanwhile, Dave stays with Felix, who reaches a critical stage, struggling to breathe. At that moment, Doria arrives, covered in blood but thankfully uninjured. This time, she administers the injection herself, and Felix's condition improves. As the students and Dave sigh in relief, they celebrate Felix's recovery. Doria, seeing Dave's care for his nephew, finds herself drawn to him. Their moment of peace is abruptly interrupted by Teddy, who hears the sound of an approaching helicopter. Excited, he rushes to the roof to signal for help, but slips and falls. As zombies gather around, he frantically knocks on the door, begging for help. Doria, unwilling to risk her students' safety, hesitates. But Dave, unable to leave Teddy to his fate, climbs up to the roof, extends his hand, and pulls him to safety just moments before the zombies can reach him. Grateful and ashamed, Teddy experiences a change of heart. He confesses all his past mistakes to Dave, admitting that he worked in a children's show just to attract mothers but now wants to change and become a better person. Meanwhile, an army prepares to confront the growing zombie threat before it spreads further. Unbeknownst to Doria and the children, the military plans to bomb the area, despite it being in the middle of the farm where they are staying. That night, Doria and the students make a small camp, and she sings to them to lift their spirits. She reassures them and tells them to sleep, believing they must prepare for a new day, completely unaware that there may not be one. At dawn, the army surrounds the area as local residents, including Tess, demand answers about what is happening. She asks about her son, but the soldiers remain silent, monitoring the situation closely. Desperate, she tries to send a message to Dave. At that moment, Dave attempts to put Felix to sleep, but Beth remains awake, frightened. Seeing her distress, Felix comforts her, reciting a rhyming poem his mother had taught him, called Little Monsters. Dave then told Felix that Tess used to tell him the same story when they were little. He smiled and told Beth that whenever the monsters got close, she should simply tell them to stay away. They played for a little while, easing Beth's fears before the children finally drifted off to sleep. Doria watched Dave, noticing how much he had changed. He was no longer just the careless man she had met. He had become truly responsible. As soon as the children were asleep, she sat beside him and told him that they would finally get some rest after everything they had been through. Dave admitted that he was surprised by the way Doria handled the children, taking care of all of them at once. He had spent his entire life only looking after himself, and seeing her dedication made him reflect on his past. He confessed that this experience had forced him to reconsider many things, including why he had ended his relationship with the woman he loved. His fear of commitment had pushed her away, a fear that stemmed from a deep emotional wound. His father had abandoned his family when he was young, leaving him scarred. Doria listened with understanding and shared that she too had endured a difficult life. However, her work as a teacher had helped her move forward and find meaning despite her struggles. In a moment of honesty, Dave asked her if she ever thought about having children. She hesitated before explaining that she needed time. She had only recently discovered that her fiancé had betrayed her. She was still wearing her engagement ring, not because she couldn't move on, but because she didn't want the children's families to think otherwise. After their heartfelt conversation, Dave and Doria found themselves growing closer. Dave reassured her, telling her to get some sleep while he stayed up to keep watch. As the sun rose, the army finalized their preparations to drop a bomb in the area within an hour. Realizing the urgency, Dave quickly woke Doria up, telling her that he had come up with a plan to get everyone out. His idea was to distract the zombies outside while he retrieved the tractor. However, Teddy interrupted with a better idea. Teddy revealed that he had a private transport vehicle that was much faster than the tractor. He suggested that they bring the vehicle to the front of the building, allowing them to escape safely by climbing onto the roof and entering the vehicle. Both Doria and Dave liked the idea and agreed to put it into action. However, just as they were preparing to move, a problem arose. When Teddy attempted to climb the ladder, he slipped and fell. The commotion woke the children, and panic spread as Teddy began pressuring them, insisting that they needed to leave immediately. Dave plays the guitar, and Daria is affected, and the kids are happy. After that, Dave says goodbye to Felix and tells him he will be back soon. Finally, the critical moment arrives, but as soon as Dave and Teddy get onto the roof, they find all the zombies gathered around the place. Dave grabs some buckets and starts hitting them together to attract the zombies' attention while Teddy goes down from the other side. Suddenly, a zombie attacks Dave from behind, and they fall. The zombie tries to bite him, but Dave pushes it away and runs to Teddy. When he reaches the vehicle, he encounters a group of small zombies, so he attacks them, and then he reaches his vehicle. Dave tries to get in with him, but he finds the door won't open. Teddy has reverted to his selfish character again and decides to escape alone. At that moment, he finds his assistant, who was wearing as the frog, has transformed as well and is sitting in the vehicle. He attacks him as soon as he gets in, and Dave is shocked when he sees this, but he doesn't have time to waste because the zombies are closing in on the vehicle. He climbs on top of the vehicle and then finds himself surrounded by zombies everywhere. Suddenly, his phone gets a signal and rings. After he answers, Tess asks him what happened and inquires about Felix. He feels at that moment that he is about to die, so he thanks his sister for everything she has done and apologizes for all the mistakes he made against her. At that moment, the toy frog starts to come out from the roof of the vehicle, and the phone falls from Dave's hand. To make matters worse, one of the kids starts screaming, telling Daria to get them out of there. When she tries to calm him down, she calls out to her, telling her that Felix has come out of the tunnel. We see the boy wearing a Vader suit running through the farm and easily passing through the zombies. While he is running, he finds a goat alone, so he tries to help her, but the zombies come after him. He closes the door from a distance to keep them out, and by chance, the door actually closes on him and the goat. After that, he finds the tractor, drives it, and goes to Dave, who is very happy about it, and runs to him as soon as he gets close. Then the two enter with the tractor, and the zombies try to come in through the windows and the doors, so they tell everyone to get on quickly before it's too late. After Daria and the kids get on, they all move with the tractor quickly before it's too late. After Daria and the kids get on, they all move with the tractor through the farm. And even though the tractor is slow, the zombies are slower, so they head towards the exit. The zombies follow them, and all this while Daria sings to the kids. Strangely, the zombies also mix with them with the songs, clapping and playing with the kids to the music. Dave and Daria are surprised, but the kids find it entertaining and keep laughing. After a long journey, they get closer to the exit. On the other side, there are soldiers standing with their weapons raised. When the captain looks at the scene, he is surprised because he thought there was no one in the farm. He finds that the one driving the tractor is Dave, along with Daria. He fears they might be injured and tells the soldiers to prepare to shoot to take them down. But when they look closely, they see there are kids with them. So the captain cancels his orders and tells the soldiers to let them pass. After they pass, the soldiers shoot at the zombies coming after them and kill them all in seconds. All the injured are killed, and the situation is brought under control. Daria and Dave are happy because they managed to save the kids. At that moment, the helicopter strikes the farm and completely destroys the place with the zombies in it. After that, Dave, Daria, and the kids are taken to the military base. In the next scene, the parents go to talk to the captain, who tells them to calm down and reassures them about their children, but he doesn't mention what happened in the farm. He tells them that despite the efforts Daria and Dave made, none of the kids were injured, but they still need to put them under observation for 40 hours in the camp to ensure none of them are hurt. After that, things will return to normal. On the other side, we see Daria and Dave singing and dancing with the kids. And here, our movie ends. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Welcome to Cinema Bites, your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. The story starts in Korea, with Young, a mountain climber in the valley who acts like a ninja, but he's not actually a ninja. However, he is flexible and has nerves of steel. At that moment, Young was training in the street, and everyone was watching him, amazed by his skills. During this time, a group of kids starts talking about Young, mentioning that his girlfriend had died previously while they were climbing mountains. Since then, Young has been psychologically distressed, and every time he sees a pole or stick in the street, he starts practicing with it. Among that group of kids was someone who happened to be Young's nephew. Young calls out to him, but the boy is embarrassed and doesn't want to talk to him, walking away and ignoring him. Young continues his training until he gets a call on his phone, informing him that he didn't get the job he applied for. This makes Young sad, and his depression worsens. He starts hating climbing, abandons his poles, and leaves. Young then returns home and goes to the kitchen to wash the dishes. Despite being as diligent as a housewife, he is dissatisfied with his life and cannot stand himself or his family. Later, while lying on his bed playing online, his sister comes in to tell him to dress nicely for their mom's 70th birthday celebration. He doesn't want to go, but his sister yells at him, insisting that he must come for their mom. She then notices that his room is filled with ropes everywhere, on the bed, walls, and closet. She gets into an argument with him, accusing him of being obsessed with ropes and climbing, and urges him to do something useful. Young reluctantly puts the ropes back in their place. The story then flashes back to when Young was training at a climbing academy. At that time, there was a beautiful girl training alongside him, climbing walls. Young, determined to beat her, loses focus, causing her to fall. However, she still manages to win, reaching the top of the wall and celebrating her victory. Returning to the present, Young gets ready for his mom's birthday party. However, when his mom sees him, she criticizes his appearance and styles his hair in a way he dislikes. She then takes a photo of him and tells him she'll share it in the family group to match him with his cousin. The family gets dressed and heads to the birthday venue. Everyone is busy with the party, gifts, and rushing to the buffet to fill their plates. As usual, people attend parties mainly for the food. At the party, Young notices Yuju, the girl who trained with him years ago. She is now the assistant manager, cutting the cake and overseeing the event. When she sees Young, she freezes, and everyone notices that they know each other. However, she quickly refocuses on her work after the manager reminds her. The celebration continues. After the cake cutting, people step outside, and Young talks to Yuju, reminiscing about their time training together 5 years ago. Yuju asks him what he does for a living now. Young, who is still unemployed, lies and says he is now a manager at an investment company. Yuju is impressed, believing he is successful. They recall the time when Young confessed his love to her 5 years ago, but Yuju rejected him, saying she only saw him as a brother. She apologizes for how she treated him back then, but Young brushes it off, pretending it didn't affect him much, even though he had cried in the streets from heartbreak. They return to the party, where Young's sister introduces Yuju to the rest of the family. The family, being nosy, bombards him with questions about his job and whether he is married. Young regrets coming to the party. His sister drags him to dance with the family, but he only claps along reluctantly, with a forced smile on his face. Meanwhile, the workers ask Yuju when the party will end because they are bored and want to leave. Yuju admits she's also tired, but doesn't know when it will finish. The manager overhears and tells the workers they can leave, promising that he and Yuju will clean up after the event. The workers are happy with their kind manager, who treats them well, gives them bonuses. After the workers leave, the manager tries to harass Yuju, but she understands his intentions and avoids him. At the same time, a truck carrying toxic chemicals stops in a restricted area. The driver releases a gas, which begins spreading across the city. People who inhale the gas die instantly. Chaos erupts as people flee, trying to save themselves. Back at the party, Young's family is busy collecting leftover food and gifts, even packing leftover food into bags to take home. Young feels embarrassed by his family's behavior, seeing them as greedy and shameless. Meanwhile, people in the streets notice the toxic gas spreading and try to escape. Young steps outside, confused by the commotion, and sees people running, cars crashing, and the gas approaching. Yujo decides to bring people back into the halls and lock them inside because it's the safest place for them, as the streets are filled with toxic gas. At that moment, Young sees his sister getting out of the car and heading toward him. However, she collapses to the ground, inhales the toxic gas, starts getting poisoned, and struggles to breathe. Young quickly carries her to the hall, and they begin treating her until the ambulance arrives. Meanwhile, Young and Yujo observe the toxic gas spreading rapidly in the city below, intensifying and eventually reaching their location. At that moment, warning messages are sent to people's phones, informing them about the toxic gas spreading in the city, killing anyone who inhales it. The messages advise people to move to higher ground as quickly as possible. Everyone rushes to the rooftop, but they find the door locked, and the key is on the first floor. Someone must sacrifice themselves to retrieve the key, but no one is willing to volunteer. They go downstairs to look for something to open the door with, and they see news on TV about the toxic gas. A health official explains that the gas causes severe health problems, including blindness, difficulty breathing, and skin burns. Inhaling a sufficient amount of the gas leads to instant death. The official advises citizens to use gas masks immediately and cover their skin with thick plastic to avoid burns. Additionally, they must replace the mask filters every 10 minutes to survive. Yujo searches the hall for gas masks, but finds none. Young joins her in the search, but it's futile. Later, the media reports that military planes will arrive to evacuate citizens from the city as quickly as possible. However, each plane can only carry 20 people, and there are only 10 planes available. Young starts thinking of a way to reach the rooftop and asks Yujo if there's an external route to climb to the top of the building. Yujo informs him that there is a way to the other side. Young breaks the glass near them and asks Yujo for equipment and ropes to climb to the rooftop. Yujo provides him with the necessary tools, and he prepares to jump outside and climb to the roof. His father and uncle try to stop him, warning him of the danger, but he doesn't listen. He runs toward the edge, jumps, and reaches the wall, but his grip slips. Encouraged by his family, including his nephew who previously disliked him, Young gathers his strength and successfully climbs the wall. Yujo throws him the remaining equipment he needs to continue climbing. He attempts to jump to the other side of the building to climb the roof. The distance is very narrow, and Young runs with all his might, successfully making the jump. However, his hand slips and he almost falls. He manages to hold on and begins climbing the building toward the rooftop. At one point, the rope he's using for safety nearly gives way, so he decides to detach the rope and climb without any support. Yujo becomes very worried, because she knows he used to fall often when they climbed together in the past. Despite the danger, Young successfully climbs to the top of the roof without the rope. Once on the roof, he unlocks the door, allowing everyone to reach the rooftop. They wait for a rescue plane, and one does fly by, but it doesn't notice them. They shout and call out loudly, but to no avail. Yujo suggests they use their phone flashlights to signal the plane, hoping it will see them. They all do so and shout loudly. Meanwhile, authorities discover the source of the toxic gas, a former scientist turned terrorist who spread the gas to take revenge after being fired from his company. His revenge wasn't just about being fired, he also lost a lawsuit against the company, along with his patents and research. He owned nothing afterward. The scientist developed the fast-spreading chemical gas, first testing it on rats. Once successful, he released it in the city near the company that fired him to kill all the executives. However, he didn't account for poisoning the public and himself, as he was found dead next to the car spreading the gas near the company. On the rooftop, Young's family does everything to get the rescue plane's attention, even singing and dancing loudly. However, the planes continue to pass by without stopping. Meanwhile, the toxic gas starts rising toward the rooftop, threatening everyone's lives. Yujo comes up with an idea to turn the building's lights on and off to signal the rescue planes. The plan works, and the rescue team notices them and descends. However, there's only room for one more person on the rescue line, with Young and Yujo left behind. They both refuse to leave each other behind, expressing their love. Young says he's currently unemployed but dreams of working in the skyscraper visible in the distance. They decide to stay together and not board the rescue plane, despite their family's pleas. They put on gas masks and protective gear, carrying extra filters, and descend into the gas-filled streets below. They change it every now and then. They start their journey, which is very difficult, and every now and then they climb to a high surface away from the toxic gas to change the filters of their masks safely without getting poisoned. After that, Young leaves Yujo in a high place on the surface and goes down to get other supplies to help them in their journey to escape from the toxic gas. At that time, while Yujo was on the surface, the gas got closer to her, and she needed to climb to a higher place. Here, she starts climbing the fence next to her to reach a higher spot. At that moment, Young was very late. She thought that Young had abandoned her and escaped to save himself from the toxic gas. While she was feeling depressed and sad, she sees Young coming back to her with a lot of supplies. He changes her mask filters, changes his own, and then takes her to eat and drink something so they don't get exhausted. They go to a closed gym to drink comfortably. After that, they need to cross from one building to another at a very high altitude. They throw weights on the end of a rope to the other side of the building to secure it. Once it's ready, Yujo crosses first, and Young keeps encouraging and cheering for her to motivate her, reminding her of her past, which was full of action and ghost hunting work. Yujo continues her way on the rope and reaches the other side safely and quickly. However, they are shocked to see the chimney of a nearby restaurant releasing the gas. Young then returns to his building, and Yujo thinks he will abandon her again, but he comes back with his mask and goes to her building. At that time, officials manage to find a way to stop the gas leak from the vehicle and discover another method to halt the toxic gas in the air using water. However, this will take a lot of time because the toxic gas has spread over a vast area of the city, making it very challenging to eliminate it quickly. The issue drags on as a large group of journalists flies their drones into the toxic gas to search for any survivors in need of rescue. We return to Young and Yujo, who successfully crossed to the other side safely and managed to climb to the roof of a high building away from the toxic gas. There, they see a group of children trapped in a room in the adjacent building, asking for help to get to the roof. Young's father goes to the photographers with drones, asking them to film the location of his son to ensure he's safe and send someone to rescue him. Initially, the photographers refuse, but of course, money changes minds. Young's father offers them a lot of money, and they agree, starting to cover the area where Young is located after he informs them about it. Meanwhile, the children try to climb to the roof using the building's external pipes, but it's dangerous, and they fail. Young then notices a helicopter coming to rescue him and Yujo, but they signal the helicopter towards the children in the adjacent building. However, the helicopter doesn't understand. Yujo and Young then use mannequins nearby to create a large sign on the ground, pointing to the other building. The helicopter understands, spots the children, and lowers a rescue cage with a rescue team to save all the children. Afterward, the gas begins to rise towards Young and Yujo. They place a ladder between their building and another to climb to a higher building and escape the gas. Journalists manage to capture their rescue efforts and broadcast the footage on TV, which everyone watches, learning about the two trapped in the toxic gas. Young's family, who are in the hospital, see him on TV and are relieved to know he's alive with Yujo. The video spreads across media and YouTube channels, with YouTubers making videos tracking their movements moment by moment. This prompts the public to demand the government provide a helicopter to rescue them. Young and Yujo continue their journey, running everywhere to avoid the toxic gas, climbing higher buildings to reach the highest point away from the gas. However, at one point, the drone's battery dies, cutting off the live broadcast of Young and Yojo. They reach the highest point without masks, and the gas starts reaching them. They feel hopeless, thinking their end is near. Young confesses to Yojo, saying, "I'm the reason for all this. I'm the reason because I chose a hall far from our home to hold the birthday party. But I did it because I knew you worked here and wanted to see you because I love you." Yojo then notices a large number of drones coming to film and report on them, sent by citizens who learned about their story. The drones begin to help them. Young asks for a rope to secure it to another spot. They manage to climb the rope to a higher place, reaching the other side. However, while climbing, the rope breaks, and they fall into the gas, causing everyone to worry about them. But later, it's revealed that they managed to reach a crane at the last moment, climbing to its highest point. A helicopter is sent to rescue them, and they return to their families, embracing in a romantic scene. Afterward, Yojo punches her boss, who sacrificed her and took the helicopter, leaving her behind. Later, Young approaches Yojo, and she confesses her love for him, saying she will always be his. The movie ends here. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive our videos first. See you next time.